Sup guys, Tearless here. Welcome to the Dream Grove. This is the class order hall for all druids in World of Warcraft Legion. It is one really nice looking class order hall. They could have just taken Moonglade and done an overhaul on it, but they decided to give us something completely brand new, and so it looks wonderful. I am here to give you a new class overview of a specialization in World of Warcraft Legion. We will be looking at Balanced Druids. Balanced Druids got a hefty amount of changes, almost as many changes it feels as an Outlaw Rogue. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. I had to make space on my computer just so I could see the massive amount of changes that are actually coming to this class, or this, excuse me, this specialization in World of Warcraft Legion. However, I will say that it does feel as though the spec plays kind of similar to how it is on live. While the changes are massive, it still feels somewhat close. So, in this video, I will be going through the abilities and the artifact weapon for the Balanced Druid, and then in the next video I will go over the PvE and PvP talents that are associated with a Balanced Druid in World of Warcraft Legion. Now, the biggest change that you need to know of is that Balanced Druids now no longer have that yin and yang. They had that kind of meter that switched back and forth between sun and moon, you know, your lunar and solar, and you can only use, or if you really want to do damage, you can only use, you know, your lunar abilities in the lunar cycle, and then the solar abilities in the solar cycle. This eclipse, that's all been just removed and taken out of. Blizzard didn't really like how that was working out. My impression is that it was very difficult to balance, and it made the skill cap and skill floor very high for a Balanced Druid. And so with this new kind of iteration of a Balanced Druid, Balanced Druid constantly is getting these different iterations. I believe that the skill ceiling maybe comes down a little bit, but at the same time the skill 4 drops a ton. And that's kind of a recurring theme in Legion, is that you're going to find many people that can play a class you know, at an adept level, but the true masters are really going to stand out from the chumps. And so that's something that I've noticed. But Balanced Druids have changed significantly. So let's go ahead and get into this. I am first going to go through the major changes, then I will go into the removed abilities, then the changed abilities, and then the new abilities for a Balanced Druid, so you can kind of see, you know, what you've lost and then how things are going to change. And then at the end we will go through the artifact weapon and take a look at what that provides for a Balanced Druid in World of Warcraft Legion. So, first off, well, I guess I should say, first off, say hello to your new Moonkin form. It looks wonderful. They have updated, like they did with Feral and Bear forms, they have now updated the Moonkin form, the textures and everything, and it now looks wonderful. In addition, you should know that you now have, if you look in the top left hand corner, my mana bar has jumped down below, very much like it does when you switch into Feral or you switch into Bear form. That's an indication that mana is no longer your primary resource. And let's be real here, unless you were healing a ton as a Balanced Druid, you really never did chunk through your mana. So you now have a primary resource known as Astral Power, and everything will go around that Astral Power. And as I go through the ability changes and how things work, you'll see where the Astral Power comes from and where it's spent. And then when we get to the new abilities, then you'll actually see exactly how this functions in full. So let's start off with removed abilities. First, Astral Communion has been removed. One of the abilities that was associated with the old Balanced Druid playstyle. Cyclone has been removed. That is a huge hit to people. I will tell you though that it is a PvP talent, so PvPers don't already just like quit the video because Cyclone is gone. It's still there, but you're gonna have to actually talent into it. Ferocious Bite is gone. Frenzied Regeneration is gone. These were, not really associated with balanced Druid. There is a way for you to get them back. Once again, that is also in the talent section. Hurricane has been removed from the game. Mangle has been removed. Same story as with Ferocious Bite and Frenzied Regeneration. Mark of the Wild has been removed. Basically, all raid-wide buffs have been removed from the game. I think Blizzard finally realized that it just wasn't worth it. When you think about it, we've gone from raid buffs actually meaning something to there being a problem with certain classes not being taken, so everyone got a raid buff, and then once everyone had a raid buff, it was like, why do you even have that anymore? If it's so easy to get every raid buff in the game. So those have been removed across the board. Rejuvenation, it's getting the same treatment as Mangled, Ferocious Bite, etc. You may be able to get it back through the talents depending on what talents you choose, but it is gone. Teleport Moonblade is gone. I know people may think that sucks, but trust me, what you are getting in return is far better. It's going to give a balanced Druid as much mobility around the world, in my opinion, as a mage. That's how potent the new ability is, so that's pretty cool. Thrash has been removed, Shred has been removed, same thing, dealing with Rejuve and Ferocious Bite. Soothe has been removed. I know that was a point of contention at one point. People really wanted that to deal with, I can't remember what it was, Hunters maybe, but it has been removed. Stampeding Roar has been removed from Balanced Druids. Wild Mushroom has been removed. Balance of Power, that was a talent, or it's going to be a talent now, but Balance of Power has been removed. Eclipse has been removed. Once again, anything revolving with that old, kind of sun and moon swap back and forth is being gutted. Lunar Guidance has been removed. Nature's Bounty has been removed. Primal Fury has been removed. Shooting Stars has been removed. And lastly, Mastery Total Eclipse has been removed. So a lot has been gutted out of Balanced Druid. That last spree of abilities that have been removed after Wild Mushroom were all passive abilities. Most of them dealing with the old system of how they how Moonkins actually functioned. That's no longer going to be the case anymore, and so that's how things have changed. So with all of those abilities removed, let's go ahead and get into the changed abilities, and you're going to start seeing how things are functioning here with the changed abilities. First off, Bear Form, armor increase has been reduced from 250 to 200. Stamina increase has changed from 20% to 30%, so you get more stamina, less armor, and it no longer costs mana. This is going to be a recurring theme. Cat Form no longer costs mana. Basically, Blizzard is saving mana for abilities that they want you to be really careful of how much you use of. So they don't care if you're switching in and out of Bear Form and Cat Form. That should be natural for a Druid. Dash, it no longer removes roots and snares. So it no longer has the automatic removal of roots and snares. Just so you know that, be careful. Don't use dash without shape-shifting first, or else you'll just find yourself speeding in the same place. Healing Touch, Remove Corruption, Revive, and Solar Beam. All of these, respectively, have had their mana cost increase from 3k to 20k, 5k to 28k, 1.2k to 9k, and 5.3k to 37k. Massive, massive mana cost increases for these abilities. Once again, that's Healing Touch, Remove Corruption, Revive, and Solar Beam. This is what I was saying just earlier. Blizzard wants you to really think when you use abilities such as this. So Solar Beam, you generally should always have mana for it, but if you're going to be spamming Healing Touch, you're going to find yourself out of mana so quick you're not going to know what to do. And basically, your mana pool, I've kind of highlighted it in the top left-hand corner. I know it's pretty tiny, but your mana pool has only increased linearly. Now, while health bars have kind of exponentially gone up in World of Warcraft Legion, your mana bar has only gone up linearly. I believe I was looking on live. my Boomkin on live only had like 190k mana, and now I only have 220k mana. So you got these massive increases in mana cost are gonna make a difference. Now, conversely, all of your basic abilities are basically no longer going to cost mana, as we've already seen with Bear Form and Cat Form. But even going into this, first major ability that you have, Starfire, which has now been renamed Lunar Strike. I'm not quite sure why they decided to rename it. Maybe it's because Moonfire and Sunfire are radically different from Starfire, and they wanted to separate the two. They just decided to rename it so that it is now Lunar Strike. You should also know that it has an AoE component to it. Lunar Strike now, I'll highlight over this, call down a strike of lunar energy causing 57,000 arcane damage and 10,000 damage to other targets within 5 yards. I believe this training dummy right here is close enough. I'll go ahead and use it. And as you can see right there, the one on the left actually got hit. Also note that using this, it no longer costs mana, and it generates 10 astral power. So we're starting to get an idea of how this is going to work. You're going to have generators of astral power, and then you're going to have consumers of astral power. Next ability, Moonfire, no longer costs any mana, and it will generate 3 astral power. I'll go ahead and use it here, and I've gained 3 astral power out of that. And that's how it's going to function. Just one. It's not like every tick you get 3 astral power. It's just once, okay? Now I'm getting extra right now, but that is from a talent that you will see later. But for now, 3 astral power every time you hit with a Moonfire. Next ability, Moonkin Form. Just to cover it, you've already seen it, but it no longer costs it mana, just like the other forms, and it no longer will grant any mastery. That's just one thing that you need to take note of. Prowl. This is something that's actually is somewhat significant. It helps with stealthing around a little bit. Prowl no longer reduces movement speed when you use it, so that's something that you no longer have to worry about. Star Surge has been changed significantly to a degree. I need to hover over this tooltip so we can see it. You're going to recognize it for the most part. But basically, Star Surge now costs 40 astral power. So this is one of the abilities that now costs astral power. Costs 40 astral power. Launch a surge of stellar energies at the target, dealing 113,000 astral damage, which I believe is both lunar and solar damage. Nature and arcane damage. I'm not sure if that's the case. They may have just put astral in its own category, but I'm assuming astral means both. It also grants you lunar or solar empowerments, which increase the damage of your next lunar strike or solar wrath, both of them, by 39% respectively. You can accumulate up to 3 of each empowerment. So I'm going to go ahead and build up my lunar power, or my astral power here, so that you guys can see. Star Surge has really not changed too much at all. I'll go ahead and use it. And as you can see right here, both Wrath and Lunar Strike are now highlighted. That means they're going to deal more damage. You can see up here in the top right hand, it even tells you how much damage you have. If I build this up again, I have not used Wrath yet. And I'll use Star Surge again. And you'll see that I now have 1 charge of Lunar Strike, but I have 2 charges of Solar Wraths. That means like 2 of my next Wraths will now deal that increased damage, whereas only 1 of my Lunar Strikes will. So that's how Star Surge works. It no longer costs any mana. It has no cooldown, so that enhancement that you got in Warlords of Draenor as you were leveling up, that is now permanent. It costs 40 astral power, and it does not share a cooldown with Starfall. That's important. It does not share a cooldown with Starfall. Sunfire is now separate. It's not tied to Moonfire. So you now have both Moonfire and Sunfire both together. It generates 3 astral power just like Moonfire. and it has that AoE component, whereas you deal damage, and then any target within 5 yards will also get the extra dot damage as well. So I'll use it, and it hits this target on the left hand side. It's not quite close enough for that one. So travel form no longer costs any mana. Once again, another ability, or another of the forms that literally cost no mana. So now you can change any of your forms with no longer worry about mana. The only mana costs you're really going to have to worry about are those 4 abilities: Healing Touch, Remove Corruption, Revive, and Solar Beam that I mentioned at the beginning. Those are going to be the primary abilities that you have to be careful about mana. Otherwise, everything else has low mana cost. Has had its mana cost kind of reduced. Entangling Roots is another one that has a mana cost, so you will have to be careful. Like I said, Blizzard really wants you to think about, kind of your extracurriculars as a Moonkin, whereas your main abilities, you don't have to worry about mana cost. Instead, you're going to be working more on Astral Power. So I guess you could say that for your main damaging abilities, you have Astral Power as your resource, and then for your other abilities, you have mana as your resource. Wrath has been renamed Solar Wrath, as I mentioned earlier, and it now generates 6 Astral Power. So your main 4 abilities, Moonfire, Sunfire, Solar Wrath, and Lunar Strike, will now generate Astral Power, and then you are able to consume that Astral Power with Star Surge, and then also with Starfall. We're actually getting into the new abilities here. I'm classifying Starfall as a new ability because it does function differently than before. Something different that you are not used to. And so I'm going to show this to you. Basically, I'm going to read this off for you. Calls down a wave of stars, falling stars, at the targeted area. So no longer do you just pop this and stars just start falling all around you. At the targeted area, dealing 91,000 astral damage over 8 seconds. Also applies Stellar Empowerment to each target, which increases your damage taken from Moonfire and Sunfire. So while Star Surge interacts with your Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath, the opposite is true with Starfall, and what it will be able to do for your Moonfire and Sunfire. Now I need to back up and show you this, because this is the coolest visual change of any ability in the entire game. So they had to give it a ground targeter, and man, does it look flashy. It is so freaking cool. I love Starfall now. You see it has a massive AoE radius, and I don't even think there's a talent that makes the radius even larger. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this here. You're going to see it is a sight to behold. A really good job on the particle effects of this ability. As you can see there, you can start to see a ring around it, and then Starfall just falls everywhere in that targeted area. Instead of it just hitting target areas, it now hits the ground everywhere. And you're going to see that, which is really cool. And that's one of the things I love about this new Starfall, and there's a lot of interaction with talents which make Starfall pretty potent. So I'm going to go ahead and just be lazy and build this up using Moonfire, and then I'm going to use Starfall again, and you're going to see down here, stars fall everywhere. It's really flashy. And if you're really pumping out the damage as a Boomkin, you're going to be able to keep that Starfall up for a significant, I would say 80% uptime on that Starfall. You're going to be able to keep it up 80% of the time. As long as you're consistently doing rotations correctly. That number may even be higher. You may even be able to get it up to a 100% chance depending on talents and so forth. So that is, a very important brand new ability for Boomkin Druids and how that has changed. I know people really like just popping Starfall, running around and tagging all the mobs. You're no longer going to be able to do that, but I do think this change is really cool. Especially in PvE, when you weren't really sure what Starfall was going to pull, and that was kind of frustrating. That's no longer going to be the case now. Starfall is going to just be in a targeted area that you can't control. So, there are actually 4 other brand new abilities that are from Moonkins. I'm going to go through them. The first of these is going to be Celestial Alignment. This used to be, I mean, the name is still there, but because of the changes in how they operate with astral power, etc., this is a little bit different. Celestial bodies align, increasing the damage of all your spells by 30% and increasing the astral power generated by Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath by 50%. Lasts 15 seconds, 3-minute cooldown. So I believe it's still there in name, however it has changed pretty much completely. Another one that has come back after being away for long is Innervate. Infuse a friendly healer with energy, allowing them to cast spells without spending mana for 10 seconds. So invalid target, I can target myself. I'm not a healer. I cannot use Innervate on myself. So this is brought back for its original intended purpose, I believe, all the way back in vanilla, to be a mana regenerator for healers. So immense utility that balanced druids will have in a raid setting. The next ability, these are passives now that we're going into, is going to be Astral Influence. Every single one of your abilities is increased by 5 yards. I believe that even applies to melee abilities. Let me see right here. Yes, Thrash has a 13-yard range. Mangle has a 10-yard range. I love this passive. So having an increase in 5 yards on all of your abilities is definitely useful. As you can see here, Sunfire and Moonfire have a 45-yard range, Lunar Strike 45-yard range. Something that Boomkins need, because they definitely don't have the best abilities to get players off of them. So staying at a long range, it's kind of like marksmanship hunters. You want to stay far and away and try and keep them far and away. The last change here, or the new ability here, is Mastery Starlight. As I mentioned before, the old Total Eclipse is out the drain, and the new one is Mastery Starlight. Increases Starfall and Star Surge damage, and the effect of lunar, solar, and stellar empowerments by an additional 19%. So, basically, your damage across the board is just being increased. I'm not going to lie, the masteries that they've envisioned to replace the old ones have been kind of lackluster, but it does set the tone for how the new classes are going to play. So that's the new mastery for Balanced Druids. It's going to be Starlight. So, with all of that, that is everything regarding the brand new abilities for Balanced Druid. I know this was a ton, and we're still not done with this video. We still have to take a look at its artifact weapon. And before we get to the artifact weapon, I need to show you the ability that comes with the artifact weapon, and that is called New Moon. So I'm going ahead and target this right here. New Moon, 45-yard range, increased by 5 yards with the passive. Deals 57,000 astral damage to the target and empowers New Moon to become Half Moon. It generates 10 astral power. So I'm going to go ahead and... can't even use it right now. I wonder if for some reason I bet my artifact weapon isn't even equipped. It is not. There we go. For some reason my artifact weapon was not equipped. Sometimes on beta realms it unequips your artifact weapon, and you have to be careful of that. But that is my artifact weapon on the back there. This is, I believe, the Scythe of Elune. Yep, it is the Scythe of Elune. It looks really nice. So, let's go ahead and use this here, New Moon. You can see what it does. Pretty simple ability. Very underwhelming. It gets better, though. So, New Moon has now been changed into Half Moon. Half Moon deals 142,000 astral damage to the target and empowers Half Moon to become Full Moon. Now this one generates 20 astral power. So it has been upgraded. Go ahead and use this. It's bigger. And now we're at Full Moon. Deals 280,000 astral damage to the target and all enemies near the target, and resets Full Moon to become New Moon. So the cycle resets. So the little bit of eclipse that was gone has now been put I guess you could say, into the ability of the artifact weapon. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here. You'll see this one's actually pretty cool. It's going to send a meteor basically down from the sky, and then it resets down to new moon. So, if you're trying to generate astral power, that's one of the most reliable ways, is to be using new moon and half moon and full moon. Now they have a 15-second recharge, and it will constantly cycle through it, so it's not like it resets. To my knowledge, you can get yourself all the way up to full moon and then just go AFK for 20 minutes and come back and it'll still be at full moon. It won't make a difference. It just constantly cycles through that. It's possible that when you enter an arena or a battleground, it will automatically always set it back to new moon just to keep things even, but I'm not quite sure. So, that is everything with the abilities coming out of a balanced druid. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Scythe of Elune. You will be beginning right here on the Scythe of Elune with New Moon, and then you'll fill this up like a talent tree. And then the big ones you want are going to be the ones with the epic portraits over them. Otherwise, all of the other abilities are basically just standard little tiny buffs like you had in the old talent tree. X ability does more damage, and that's just kind of the way it's going to be. So, I'm going to go from left to right and read them off. We have Falling Star, increases the damage bonus from Stellar Empowerment by 45%. Stellar Empowerment is what comes from Starfall, whereas the Lunar and Solar Empowerments is what you get from Star Surge. So, just in case you don't know the difference between them, that's the difference between them. You have Sky Wrath. This will be the first ability you get. Increases the damage dealt by Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath by 6%. Scythe of the Stars increases the critical strike chance of Star Surge by 18%. Now notice that it has three ranks. It's going to be 6, 12, 18%. You're going to have to build it up before you can move on to the next one down here, like Sunblind. So Sunblind increases the radius of Sunfire by 5 yards. So Sunfire originally only has a 5-yard radius, and this gives it a 10-yard radius. So normally I can't hit that target over here on the right hand side, but with the talent here, 10 yards puts it inside that radius. Bladed Feathers. Moonkin form increases your armor by an additional 75%. So originally you were at 200 for your Moonkin form. This puts you at 275. Your first epic ability, Echoing Stars. Each time Starfall does damage, it also damages another nearby enemy for 1900 or 2000 astral damage. So I don't know if we're able to show that here. I'll use the moons to get things started, to get it up high enough, and then we'll go ahead and use Starfall, and you'll see right here stars are falling. You can see the damage numbers popping up all over the place there. So it makes it even flashier, which is cool. We have Solar Stabbing, increases the damage dealt by Solar Wrath by 15%. We have we discussed Falling Star. We have Light of the Sun, reduces the remaining cooldown on Solar Beam by 3 seconds for each target it interrupts. Solar Beam is still at a 1-minute cooldown, so I mean, you interrupt 5 people, you get I mean, that'd be a rare scenario, but you interrupt 5 people and you end up getting 15 seconds off of it. Rapid Innervation. Innervate also grants your target 20% haste for its duration. So, I mean, really, balanced druids are going to be, a class that is going to be wanted in terms of a raid setting. Your other epic ability here, Power of Goldrin. If you remember, Goldrin, I believe, is one of the ancient spirits in Hyjal. Star Surge has a chance to summon the Spirit of Goldrin, which immediately deals 94,000 damage to the target. Let's see if we can actually get that to roll. I'm guessing I'm not going to be able to get this to roll as I would like to. We'll go ahead and use Star Surge and see if that might have been it right there. So it's hard to, that's one that I have not seen shown up at all when I've tested Balanced Druid, but no doubt that the visual is going to be there. You have Touch of the Moon. When you take damage, you have a 15% chance to heal yourself for 77,000. cannot occur more than once every 20 seconds. To give you an idea, 77,000 is not going to be much. I have 1.4 million health. 77,000 is 5% of your health. So, not very much. Twilight Glow increases the damage dealt by Moonfire by 15%. Dark Side of the Moon increases the critical strike chance of Lunar Strike by 15%. Sunfire Burns increases the damage dealt by Sunfire by 10%. Empowerment increases the damage bonus from lunar and solar empowerments by 10%, so that's everything dealing with Star Surge basically. And then last we have Moon and Stars. During celestial alignment, each harmful spell you cast grants 3% haste. So that is everything for the artifact weapon and abilities for a Boomkin Druid. Things become even more interesting for a balanced Druid once we get into these abilities. You'll be able to see just there's a lot of returning talents, but at the same time there's a lot of different and new stuff, which is really cool for a balanced Druid. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next video we will be going into the PvE and PvP talents for a balanced Druid. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Taylor out.